Welcome. This week we're going to learn Parshas Tazria, but before we begin, I just want to ask a favor. If any of you have gotten my book, Guide to the Guide, on the Rambam, on the Mar Nevuchim, either from Amazon or in the store, it would be a very big help to me if you like the book, if you would post a comment on Amazon. Somehow their algorithms take the comments very much into account, and it would be very helpful. So if you go to Amazon, you post a comment, that I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, Tazria. So the Parsha starts like this. Dabrel bnei Yisrael leimar, Isha ki Tazria v'yolda zochar. If a woman gives birth and she has a zochar, so she's tamei 7 days. Now, on the 8th day, you have to do milah. And then, if it's nekeva teiled, if she gives birth to a nekeva, then she's tamei 2 weeks. Not just 1 week, she's tamei 2 weeks. So you have to understand why when she gives birth to a nekeva, is there more tumah than if she gives birth to a zachar? I mean, why would this be? Then when it comes to Yemei Tara, so by the zachar there's 33 days, but nekeva is 66 because it's double. And since you doubled the Yemei Tumah, so therefore you doubled the Yemei Tara. But it starts with the Yemei Tumah, and the tumah by a zachar is 7 days, and the tumah by a nekeva, when she gives birth to a nekeva, is 14 days. Why is there this difference? It's like, it's not, is something wrong with women, with nekevas, that they have more tumah? That's a question. Now, there are a couple of questions that the Mefarshim ask. One question they ask is, why do you need a pasuk that Yoledus is tamei? That they said the ein psichis hakever b'loy dam. Anytime that the womb opens, then there is always blood. So if there's blood, she's a nida. So why do you need to say that she's tamei as Yoledus? She's tamei as a nida. What's the reason for this? The Rechaim speaks about this, and then there's another question which everybody speaks about, that says, she's tamei 7 days, on the 8th day you have milah. Why are we talking about the milah of the child on the 8th day when we're talking a parsha of the tumah of the eldest? How much tumah she has, the zachar and the keva, what are karbanas that she has to bring, all the halachas of the eldest. What's the difference what you do with the vlad if you have milah, not milah? And the mitzvah of milah is in Sefer Bereshis. It's one of the first mitzvahs. So why over here we're repeating again, what's the purpose of this? There are different answers that are offered by the Mefarshim. I'd like to offer. Tumah, the aside of Tumah, what are all Tumahs? What's the commonality of all tumahs? So really what they have in common is tumah is the result of the voiding of life. Tumah comes from death. When a person dies, you have tumah. When you have a nevela, is tamei. A dead sheretz is tamei. All these different things. Tsaras is tamei because it's like this kind of the death of the partial death of the body. A nida is tamei because when a nida gives out, menstruates, and that's the rejection of the placenta. The placenta is the part of a woman that is the basis for having a child. The egg is embedded in the placenta, and that's where it's fertilized, and that's where it grows. So there's a lot of potential life in a placenta. When a woman menstruates, then the placenta is ejected, and then there's a loss of life. There's a loss of potential life. So that's also kind of avoiding of life, avoiding of potential life. So that also causes tumah. That is what all tumas have in common. Tumas deraisa. You find that a dead body, a Yisrael, is maga. If you touch it, it's metame, and it's also metame ba'oil. And a goy, the body is metame if you touch it, but it's not metame ba'oil. Why? Because the life force of Yisrael is a stronger life force, because he's connected to Torah, because he's on a higher level. Therefore, when his life is voided, there's a bigger voiding when his life is voided than when the life of a guy is voided. So therefore, the tumah that results by Yisrael is greater than the tumah that results by a guy. So now, when it comes to a yolidus, so yolidus, that she is, when she has dam, when she bleeds, she's not losing a potential life. On the contrary, she's giving birth. She's giving birth. It's not there's a life coming out. So the Tumah of Nida would not apply to Yolidus, because there's no voiding of life here. There's a new life. However, that new life, Lagabi Har, is voided. Because until now, of course, the child comes out, a new life, a new person, but the woman who had a child in her, and now the child is born, her life has been diminished. Because until now, she was her plus this living child. I'm not getting into the sugya of Ubi Archimoi, the legal aspects of it, but Lamaisa, there was a child in her body, and it was connected to her umbilical cord, and its life was connected to her life. And when the child is born, her life is diminished. So that's why she is Tomei. Because even though there's no death over here, even though the birth results in a living child, but her life, herself, is diminished. And since her life is diminished, there is Tomei. So now there is a difference between giving birth to a Zachar and giving birth to a Nekeva. When a woman gives birth to a Zachar, she's giving birth to a life which is imperfect, or a life which still needs a tikkun. It needs a milah. Before the milah, the life is, of course, it's a life, but it's an oral. So she lost an oral, so that's one thing. If she gives birth to a girl, the girl doesn't need milah, she is perfect. So she lost a perfect life. Therefore, there is more tumah. So that's what the pasuk says. When she gives birth to a zachar, the tumah is for 7 days, because even though it's a life, but she's losing a life, the life that she's losing, it needs a tikkun. It's imperfect. So we only have 7 days of tumah. The Torah is telling you why, because it needs a milah. So since it needs a milah, it's only 7 days. When she gives birth to the Nekeva, that child is perfect, and that child has been removed from her body, so there was a diminution of her own life force, a greater diminution. Therefore, the Tumah is for 14 days. And the Meitara is corresponds to, if it's double this, it's double that. Okay, now, the pasuk says later that when the kohen, I'm not going to get into this too much. I just want to really speak about a Gemara in Makis and Narachayim. It says V'tiarei kohen pasuk Yugim Alamed Zayin. Then be'einav Amad Anesek. Then the kohen looks at it and it says V'tiarei kohen. So there's Narachayim about this, which I'll get to in a minute. But first, I would like to talk about a Gemara in Makis. Very puzzling Gemara and a very well-known Gemara. The Gemara has over here the different things that you learn out from so Rabbi Shimon has a whole list of things that he learns out. And he learns through a whole list of things, which I'm not going to get into now. It's in Daf Yuzayin, Amar Aleph. Omar Rava. So Rava said, the Elide Imek Rav Shimon Teled V'loi Loi Seled. That he's admiring what Rav Shimon says, and if a woman will give birth to a child like Rav Shimon, she should give birth to him. V'loi, if not, she shouldn't give birth. What does this mean? Rashi says, Kol she'imo yoledes tevakesh rachmem yehi rotzoin sheyehei k'Rav Shimon. That it should be like Rav Shimon b'Yechai. And if not, loy teileit. So what does that mean? She shouldn't give birth to another child. I mean, what's wrong with Rava? What's wrong with Vega? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with anybody? It's the only child that a woman gives birth to is Rav Shimon ben Yochai. Otherwise, she shouldn't give birth. What is the Gemara saying? Then Rava goes on. V'yafal gav disli pircha. And then Rava has a kasha on every single thing Rav Shimon says. He has a kasha. My chumra, the bikurim and ma'asesh, goes through all of them, and he slugs up. He has a kasha on every single thing, every step of Rav Shimon's reasoning. He has a kasha. So the Gemara asks a question: if you have a kasha on everything, if you have a kasha on everything he says, why are you praising him so much that a mother should give birth only like Rav Shimon, not like anybody else? What's the pshat in that? So the Gemara says, because according to what he holds, he changes the pasuk. So what does that mean? Rashi says that there's a whole progression in that pasuk. If this, then this. If not this, then this and this. Rav Shimon starts from the bottom and it works its way up to the top. He dashens the pasuk backwards. That's Mesaras Leilakra. So according to what he holds, he's Mesaras the Kra, he dashens it backwards. So this is what the Gemara says. This is the reason why Rav Shimon, such a praise for Rav Shimon, the lead the imik Rav Shimon Teled V'Loy Seiled, because he's Mesaras Leilakra, because he turns the pasuk on its head, and instead of dashing it straight, he dashes it backwards. How does this explain? I mean, why that's such a gewaldige thing that he's Mesaras Lekra? That's why you lead the imik Rav Shimon Teled V'Loy Teled. What does this Gemara mean? I have a friend, Rav Shlomo Kanarik, who says the Daf Yomi Shir, and a couple of cycles ago, I asked him if he knows Pshat in his Gemara, and I didn't exactly know Pshat, so I told him Pshat. So he went to raise money for his school that next couple of days to a balabas in Borough Park, and who was learning Daf Yomi, and he told him the Pshat, and the balabas told him, I was planning to give you $1,800, but because of this, I'm giving you $5,000. Don't ask me if I got a commission. So anyway, it's something which is like very, very puzzling. So I want to say pshat like this. The Rechaim on this pasuk with Tira Kohen, he says that there's a kasha. Moshe Rabbeinu says everything that kol masha talmid vosek also lechadesh. The Rebbeinu Shalom told it to Moshe Rabbeinu. Everything. He knew the whole Kol Torah Kula, knew everything. And then the Gemara says that, or the Medrash, that when the Rebbeinu Shalom showed Moshe Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva was darshaning kol everything called every tag he was darshaning, and Moshe had chalish zadas because he couldn't follow him. He didn't know what he was saying. So he says, if he knew everything, how could it be that Rabbi Akiva knew more than him? This is the question. So the Rechaim says like this. He says we have two Torahs. We have Torah Shebiksav and we have Torah Shebal Peh. The Iker is Torah Shebal Peh. The Torah that came down with Messiah, that's the Iker. Torah Shebiksav, the avodah, and the work of the Balei Talmud was to find Ramazim for everything in Torah Shebal Peh is merumez in Torah Shebiksav. Sometimes it says mefurish, and sometimes it's only a remez. So they all worked on finding a remez, which is where's the remez, and the remez could be pretty clear or it could be obscure. Sometimes you find in the Gemara that you find up is some kind of a drasha in one parsha, and the Gemara says you darshan it for a totally different parsha. So the remez for this other parsha was hidden in another parsha. So sometimes it's more in the open, and sometimes it's hidden. But there are ramazim for everything that we know from Torah Shebal Peh is merumez in the Torah, and I think that's why when they have these machlokes, between the Tanoim, Yidash and this, Yidash and that, I think that when they finished arguing about the machlokes in Torah Shebal Peh, what they hold is the right thing, then they took the machlokes to the next level. The one who finds a better remez, that sort of supports his shita in Svara. Okay, but that's Zayte Gezach. But that's what it is. Torah Shebiksav is there for a Muslim for Torah Shebal Peh. That's what the Rechaim says on this pasuk. So the Iker is Torah Shebal Peh. Now, what the Gemara says over here, that Rav Shimon, according to what he holds, he takes the pasuk and dashes it backwards. What does that mean, according to what is hold? Because he has a svara, he has an idea, and according to that idea, dashing the pasuk backwards. That's not what it means. According to what he holds means this is what he was mekabel in the Messiah from his Rabbeim. This is his Torah Shebal Peh. L'maydis what he holds, because this is what he learned from his Rabbeim. So if you have a conflict between the Pshuta Shel Mikra and what you makabel your Messiah from your Rabbeim and Torah Shebal Peh, what does Rabbi Shimon do? He darshans the pasuk backwards, and he's not mevatel that what is makabel the Messiah is wrong. No, what's makabel Messiah, that's the truth. What's with the pasuk? The pasuk seems to be we'll dash him backwards, and that'll make it shtim. That'll make it shtim. That'll be the remez. That'll make it shtim. Is what he was makabel. But if he lie, if he doesn't do that, if he's mevatel the Messiah because it doesn't shtim with the pshuta shel mikra the way it appears to him, then that's what Rav is saying. They leave the imik Rav Shimon Talmid. If a woman will give birth to a child like Rav Shimon, who will be mekayim the Messiah, and if it's in conflict with the pshuta shel mikra of the Torah Shebiksav, he will darshan the pasuk backwards to be mekayim the Messiah. Talmid, she should give birth to him. If he will do the opposite, if he will say that the Messiah is wrong because it doesn't stem with the mikra, with the pshuta shel mikra, loy Talmid. Better that such a person should not be born. That's what the Gemara is saying. Okay, I want to conclude with one very brief part that it says the Rebbeinu Shalom told Moshe in Parshas Shemos that he should go back and the Noshim HaMefakshim Rasacha Meisu, the Dassan and Aviram are dead. So Rashi says they weren't dead. So Rashi says because they lost their money, and Ani is Chashav Kemes. So the Ran asks, how do you know that they lost their money? Maybe it became a Mitzorah. And a Mitzorah is also Chashav Kemes. 4 people are Chashav Kemes. One of them is, Suman, but if you lose Ani is Chashav Kemes, and Mitzorah is Chashav Kemes. How does Rashi know to say that they lost their money? Maybe it became a Mitzorah. So I want to say like this: Why is the Mitzorah Chashav Kemes? Because the pasuk says, "Kol Yemei Shanaga Boy Yitma Tamehu Bodad Yeshiv Mechutz Lamachna Mishavei." He has to stay chutz lamachna, sit by himself. If anybody close, he tells him tamei, stay away. He has to be in total isolation. A person who's in total isolation is considered like he's dead. But that's only by a person who will listen to what the Torah says. Dassan and Aviram or Rishoyim, they didn't care that it says that there's a din of Badad Yeshiv, so they won't do Badad Yeshiv. They're Rishoyim. So you can't say that they were Mitzrayim, they were Meis because of Badad Yeshiv. They're Rishoyim. They wouldn't be Mekayim the Badad Yeshiv. So Al Karcha, the reason why they were considered like a Meis is because they were Aniyim. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again next week. Thank you.